Hello there and welcome to the news at this time on NTA International. I am Lami Ali. John Bamidele is the sign language interpreter. We begin with the headlines. First Lady Oluremi Tinubu presents set of medical kits to midwives in Northwest under Renewed Hope initiative. German election winner Friedrich Merz faces task of building new governments in Europe. And world leaders in Kyiv to mark the third anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Nigeria is taking a step closer to conducting a new national population and housing census with biometric and digital components. The indication emerged as President Bola Tinubu this Monday met with officials of the National Population Commission (NPC), who came to brief him at the State House. The president said he would set up a committee to align the census budget to the government's present financial realities. He suggested that the National Identity Management Commission (NIMC) must be part of the review. He reiterated his commitment to ensuring accurate and reliable census figures from the national census to strengthen national planning and improve Nigeria's living conditions through more efficient social security. President Bola Tinubu has felicitated with the Special Advisor on Policy and Communication, Dr. Daniel Bwala, on his 50th birthday. President Tinubu lauds Bwala's articulation of government policies to ensure the public understands the administration's agenda. The president also commends him for leveraging his expertise as a lawyer, political analyst, and public affairs commentator in performing his duties with clarity and insight. He ensures robust public engagement and understanding of government initiatives. A statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, said the President prays that the years ahead bring him continued fulfillment and greater opportunities to advance our collective vision for a thriving Nigeria. The Renewed Hope initiative has again put tools in the hands of frontline health workers with the presentation of another set of 10,000 medical kits, this time to midwives in Northwest states. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu made the presentation in Kaduna to kickstart her two-day working visit to the state. The ceremony is equal to a similar one in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, where the first batch of 10,000 professional kits was presented to midwives in north-central states as part of efforts to stem maternal and infant mortality rates in the country. And the chairman Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCAM, Abikadabiri Arewa, has rejoiced with 22-year-old Zuriel Oduole on her nomination by 3 institutions for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. In a congratulatory message, Abikadabiri said the nomination was not a surprise to her due to the tireless work of Zuriel advocating for girls' education over the last 12 years across Africa and the Caribbean, and for her peace-mediating work between nations in South America and the Middle East. She expressed optimism that Zuriel will win the topmost prize going by her determination, zeal, and enthusiasm for success. While wishing her the very best of luck in her endeavors, Dabiri Arewa implored youth to emulate the impactful spirit of Zuriel and shun any act capable of denigrating the image of Nigeria. Nigeria and Kazakhstan are working towards establishing a direct flight from Abuja to Astana. This was one of the fallouts of conversation at the first Nigeria-Kazakhstan Business Council in Abuja. Kelvin Iwunwai reports that the meeting facilitated by the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeye Ogunsi, was used to explore areas of cooperation between both countries in agriculture, ICT, and commerce, while the need for a Kazakhstan embassy in Nigeria featured prominently.
As a country, They're changing their visa policy for them to accommodate Nigerians that are so talented in the area of tech, artificial intelligence, in the area of writing codes. So it's a great opportunity. Our leader, our president saw it very fast and quickly, headed to the meeting, and they had a very good bilateral meeting, and they are all here. All ministries are on board. To me, we've been able to cut the red tape, and things are moving very fast.
I know Kazakhstan is a country that is very large, 3 times the size of Nigeria, but only 10% of our population. So there are only 20 million people, which is less than Lagos State. So that is to show you that there are opportunities that we can come in and they can also come in. I know some countries, like especially in the Middle East, they want red meat, they want soya, they want even grass for their cattle. So we look at opportunities that exist within Kazakhstan.
We are ready to provide our satellites and to make coastal monitoring of land. This is very important, especially in the agricultural sector, what we are doing in our country. So more than 50% of our land is arable, and the territory of Kazakhstan is 2.7 million square kilometers, and we are doing the space monitoring of our land, arable land, of all the crops, and this really significantly raises the quality of our food products.
A memorandum of understanding is expected to be signed between the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Ministry and its Kazakh counterparts at a later date. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky hailed his country's resistance and heroism on Monday, on the 3rd anniversary of Russia's invasion, as EU leaders arrived in Kyiv in a show of solidarity. Pang reports that Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to launch a military operation set up the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II.
Thousands of soldiers from both sides and Ukrainian civilians have been killed. Cities across the country's south and east have been flattened and millions forced to flee their homes. 3 years after the West rallied behind Ukraine and Zelensky, Trump's return to the White House has threatened to upend the coalition of support and has brought vital military and financial aid into question at a critical juncture in the war. Russian troops are still advancing across the east, and Moscow has been emboldened by Trump's diplomatic outreach and his skepticism over long-term support for Kyiv. Zelensky on Monday hailed 3 years of resistance, 3 years of gratitude, 3 years of absolute heroism of Ukrainians, adding, "I thank everyone who defends and supports it." Arriving in Kyiv by train, EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen said Ukraine was fighting for survival and that Europe's destiny was at stake in Ukraine as she announces 3.5 billion euros of fresh aid to Kyiv.
It is not only the destiny of Ukraine that is at stake, it is Europe's destiny that is at stake.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez also announces a new military assistance package for Ukraine worth 1 billion euros for 2025.
Ensure that Ukraine joins the European Union as soon as we can. Whatever happens in the coming months, Ukrainians' accession to the European Union is the most important victory for the Ukrainian people.
Zelensky said 13 leaders will be in Kyiv on Monday, with another 24 joining a special meeting online. Reports say this triggered alarm in Kyiv and across Europe. He has restarted diplomacy with Moscow, calling Putin for a 90-minute phone conversation and dispatching Secretary of State Marco Rubio to Saudi Arabia for a meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Ukrainian soldiers in the east say they were nervous about Trump's bid for a swift ceasefire. Pang, NTA News.
The United Nations chief warned Monday that human rights are being suffocated globally by wars and violence, as well as autocrats crushing opposition and trampling on international law. Human rights are the oxygen of humanity, United Nations chief Antonio Guterres told the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. He said autocrats are crushing opposition because they fear what a truly empowered people would do. It holds that the patriarchal system keeps girls out of school and women at arm's length from basic rights.
We have our work cut out for us. Human rights are the oxygen of humanity, but one by one, human rights are being suffocated by autocrats, crushing opposition because they fear what a truly empowered people would do.
He said warmongers turn their nose at international law, international humanitarian law, and the UN Charter. He said wars and violence are stripping people of their rights to food, water, and education. Guterres also pointed to the impact of a morally bankrupt global financial system and to technologies like artificial intelligence that hold great promise. Now, German election winner Friedrich Merz on Monday faced the task of quickly building a new government that is eagerly awaited in Europe at a time of tectonic change in transatlantic relations. After winning Sunday's election, the conservative Merz said a united Europe must build up its defenses as U.S. President Donald Trump has cast doubts over the future strength of the NATO alliance. Here is Famapangi with the report.
As the Ukraine war grinds on into a fourth year, Merz pledged continued support for Kyiv, even as Trump hopes to end the conflict directly with Russia over the heads of Ukraine and Europe. While the geopolitical challenges loom, Merz must forge a new coalition government at home, most likely with the vanquished Social Democrat SPD of the outgoing Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. The world isn't waiting for us, Merz said late Sunday after his CDU-CSU alliance claimed victory with 28% of the vote. The far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD party, came second with a record 20%, driven by fears over immigration, with strongest gains in its heartland in the ex-communist East. However, Merz's CDU-CSU alliance and all other parties have pledged to keep it out of power behind a firewall of non-cooperation. Other pressing challenges awaiting Merz, with non-action needed on the ailing economy after 2 years of recession, driven in part by high energy prices sparked by the Ukraine war. European leaders have waited for Berlin to emerge from months of political standstill as Trump has rattled the cage by signaling fading interest in securing the defense of the continent. In Sunday's election, Merz's CDU-CSU bloc handily defeated Scholz's Social Democrats, who scored a historic low of 16%, and the Greens won 11%. The Conservatives are set to first enter talks with Social Democrats without Scholz, who apologized for the bitter defeat but will stay on in a caretaker role until a new government is formed. After a polarized campaign, Merz will have to enter a process of horse trading on party policies and red lines to hammer out a platform for a future governing alliance. The campaign was dominated by polls signaling strong gains for the AfD and massive counter-protests on the streets by those who oppose the anti-immigration party. The heated campaign energized voters with a turnout of 84%, the highest recorded since Germany's reunification in 1990. AfD leader Alice Weidel on Monday again urged the mainstream parties to stop isolating them. Frama Panyi, NTA News.
We take a break now. More stories in just a moment. Governmental experts from ECOWAS member states are in Abuja to brainstorm on processes for the validation of documents to activate logistics depot to support the regional standby force. Calvin Eunwai reports that one of the logistics depots situated in Sierra Leone is currently being stocked with equipment.
The logistics base is to support all ECOWAS peace operations missions as well as a hub for the supply of equipment for the regional standby force to combat terrorism, violent extremism, and humanitarian support across the sub-region. Now, with the completion of the logistics depot in Lungu, Sierra Leone, it is imperative to develop relevant documents to guide the day-to-day operations of the depot. This meeting, being attended by security experts from member states, is essentially to work towards realizing that objective.
The activation of the ECOWAS standby force to fight terrorism is actually what we are now currently planning to do. We need to have the required resources. already member states have given us the troops that will populate, the contingent that will move, in activation of the standby force in its kinetic form.
It's not fixed. The threat determines how big the force will be. But units in member states are placed on alert based on what is pledged to the collective effort. And they are trained together, they are prepared, then deployed as the situation requires.
At the end of the validation meeting, a definite framework of operations, especially deployment strategies, are expected to evolve. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
The trial of the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Adoza Bello, has commenced before the Federal High Court Abuja Division. Yahaya Bello is being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for alleged fraud. Dele Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk reports.
In the alleged financial crimes matter, before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, the former governor of Kogi State and 3 others are standing trial on allegations bordering on fraud and money laundering. Yahaya Bello and the 3 others are facing 19 counts charge preferred against them by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. In place of trial on the alleged 80.2 billion naira fraud, the prosecution called 2 prosecution witnesses to testify in the matter. The first prosecution witness, Olusegun Joseph Adeleke, who is a general manager in one of the estate developing firms in Abuja, told the court about the purchase of a house in Maitama by one Shehu Bello for 550 million naira. He also told the court that Yahaya Bello, as one of the defendants in the matter, did not participate in the transaction to the best of his knowledge. Adeleke, who was led in evidence by the prosecution counsel, equally told the court about the transaction of a house on 5th Avenue in Gwarimpa worth 70 million naira. Property was said to have been purchased by one Nuhu Muhammad. The second prosecution witness, Williams Abimbola, a compliance officer with one of the banks, produced the subpoenaed documents, including the statement of account of Kogi State Government House from January 1, 2016 to January 31, 2024. The court equally admitted in evidence the account opening packages of American International School and statements of accounts from September 1 to September 30, 2020. The case has been adjourned to March 6 and 7 for continuation of trial. Yahaya Bello and 3 others pleaded not guilty to the 19-count charge during the arraignment. Justice Emeka Nwete granted bail to Yahaya Bello in December 2024. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
The Nigerian military is committed to gender mainstreaming within the security institutions to enhance equal representation to bolster the fight against criminality. The Commandant, National Defense College, Nigeria, Rear Admiral Olomuyiwa Lotu, who stated this in a message as the training for gender focal officers in security, charged the participants to drive responsive reforms in their various operational areas.
The contemporary security landscape requires inclusive approaches in curtailing the impact of security threats on civilians, especially women and children, who remain the most vulnerable during armed conflicts. Armed conflicts such as terrorism, insurgency, as well as other humanitarian crises disproportionately affect women, children, and other vulnerable groups, making it imperative for security institutions to develop gender-sensitive policies and operations.
So it goes to show you that yes, it's difficult, it may take time, but it's possible. Most of these discriminatory practices are based on ignorance, and we can actually transform and change that. For the security institution, this training is very critical in the sense that as gender advisors, you have a critical role to play in mainstreaming gender and the women, peace and security agenda in your respective security institution.
The training is aimed at enhancing gender-responsive security operations and community dialogue projects in Nigeria. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is urging journalists to uphold professional values of factual and timely reportage of electoral issues when the need arises. Resident Electoral Commissioner of Bayelsa State, Obo Efanga, stated this when officials of the Nigerian Union of Journalists visited him in Yonogwa. Gift Ogbe reports.
Elections of aspirants or candidates is the major feature of the democratic system. And for that process to be achieved, an organizing body like the Independent National Electoral Commission is involved. This is why the Commission is often conducting election with mutual understanding of the security and the media. It is in view of this important role of the media that the resident Electoral Commissioner Bayelsa State, Obo Efanga, enjoined journalists in the state to always show professionalism in electoral reportage in the interest of the population.
Well, this is quite important. If we want to sustain democracy in Nigeria, there's need for those who work to strengthen democracy to collaborate. INEC is the main election management body in the country, and we conduct the most elections. And the Nigerian Union of Journalists generally report the election, they analyze the elections and the electoral process, they pass information to members of the public, and it's important for them to have the right information so that they can pass the right information to the members of the public. Sometimes there may be misunderstanding of what the process is about or what's happening in the process. Our doors are open for them to approach us to get the right information.
Chairman of NUJ Bayelsa State Council, Camry Tonye Yemoleya, says the visit by the State Council of the NUJ was to further strengthen the already existing relationship between the media and the Commission, and stress for the Commission to always release information to journalists timely.
When a society is confused, it means that the media is in the center of that confusion. But when a society is orderly, it then means that society is properly orchestrated by the reportage of the media. So coming to here today to INEC to cement the already existing relationship is to ensure that as journalists, we have that platform, that synergy, that right working relationship with INEC to understand the why of things that will be happening in the electoral process.
The visit also created avenue for interaction with the Commission official. In Yenegua, Gift Ogbe, NTA News.
The federal government has flagged off the reconstruction and expansion of the Lagos-Ibadan dual carriageway. While performing the flag of Ashagamu in Ogun State, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, assured that the project will cover underpasses, pedestrians and flyover bridges. Hakim Jimo reports.
The first question of the Shagamu being addressed to the glory of God and to the use of all Nigerians.
That was the official flag off of reconstruction work on the Lagos-Ibadan Shagamu Expressway Phase 1. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, acknowledges that the federal government is upgrading and expanding the expressway to reduce manpower loss, enhance safety, and facilitate ease of doing business in the country. He directed that no payment should be made to contractors without an advanced payment guaranteed certificate and performance bond.
And I want to charge everybody to check the quality of work being done. It's the work of everybody. So I would want everybody to get involved to do this. And we have directed a contractor at the Shagamu roundabout that he should go and they put bumps. From Ikperu, where this one, the first 24 is stopping to Ijabode, the president is committed to completing it.
President Bola Tinubu, who was represented by the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, believes in the strategic importance of the road as the busiest axis that provides a direct link between Lagos and other parts of the country, assuring that it will be completed in 24 months. While noting that the federal government is committed to linking rural routes with urban centers, the president added that this is in alignment with the Renewed Hope agenda and the commitment to rebuilding national road networks for economic prosperity.
His leadership and steadfast vision to position Nigeria as a global economic powerhouse are truly commendable and visible. There is no doubt that road infrastructure plays a fundamental role in the socio-economic development of any nation. The inclusion of the Shagamu or the expressway in this space further underscores the Renewed Hope agenda's vision of ensuring that our national road network meets international standards and supports our aspirations for economic expansion and industrial development.
Stakeholders expressed gratitude to the federal government for having the people at heart, appealing for the construction of fire stations along the expressway in case of any emergency. From Shagamu in Ogun State, Akim Jimo, NTA News.
And that does it on the news at this time on NTA International. I am Lami Ali. Bamidele John has been the sign language interpreter. Do have a good evening.